Oh, wow.
Yikes, still very cringeworthy. Of all the public outbursts that we've seen in the last 2 years, this one really stands alone. Will Smith smacking Chris Rock at the Oscars live on television. Fortunately, the situation did not escalate any further than this, but not all public outbursts, as we know, end in the same way. So joining us right now, psychologist and executive coach, Dr. Lisa Orbe-Austin. Hi, Dr. Lisa.
Hi, Natalie.
A topic everyone's been talking about, so we're going to get right into it right now. What are some reactions that bystanders kind of have when witnessing something like that or a public outburst while we're out?
Yeah, we typically have a pretty strong nervous system reaction. So we either go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is usually the lesser known one, which is where we go into a people-pleasing mode.
Okay,
so these are common reactions.
What is odd about a Chris Rock and Will Smith incident is really how the audience reacted. Now, we'll give them credit here. It's an award show, right? They didn't know what was going on, if it was a joke or not. But then they cheered for Will Smith later that night. Can you talk about how bystanders' mindset kind of shifts when an outburst takes place?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this particular situation, they were a lot of them were having potentially a fawn response where they were just trying to people please and show up in a way that felt appropriate to an award ceremony. I think it's also important to recognize they were also under camera and potentially their reactions were going to be caught in some kind of permanent way. And so I think it may have affected, many of them probably were still in shock and trying to process what had happened and what their stance was on it. And I think that's really common for a public outburst, that it takes a while to kind of really process what's going on. There's a lot of complex inputs.
A lot of us still very much trying to process what happened. Now, we did see and hear stories, Denzel taking him aside, Bradley Cooper as well. What are some effective ways that bystanders can try to intervene to diffuse a situation like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to understand what the bystander effect is. And the bystander effect is that when you see something kind of happen that's like a public outburst or some interaction that's negative, oftentimes bystanders will not do anything with this idea that there are other people around, so they'll do something. And so I think it's really important to do something, whether it's document the incident, go to the proper, authorities in the particular matter, ask the person if they need help, try to do something. Do not think that other people are doing something because you're likely to be alone in that situation.
Yeah, we often assume someone else will do something when we can safely step in. We've seen, Dr. Lisa, so many examples during the pandemic, really, of public outbursts. We've seen them on planes. We've seen them almost everywhere, people getting very frustrated. Do you think those types of events are here to stay?
I certainly hope not. I think that our interpersonal skills have been definitely affected by the pandemic. And I think it's really important to recognize as we transition back to more engagement with other people that we work on being reactive to them and we work on our interpersonal and conflict resolution skills. I mean, I'm seeing this sort of everywhere. I mean, yes, this incident's, public, but I've seen this sort of occur in a lot of different places. I think it's really important that we take it slow and really think about how we're responding to people in a much more compassionate and thoughtful way than we are, because it'll make us all safer.
Yeah, very much so. I have to ask you one more question before we go. If we are a bystander who sees a situation kind of unfolding in front of us, what do we ask ourselves before we go ahead and jump in and get involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about your own safety and think about, are you safe? And then if you are, what can you do about it? There are different ways to distract or to, help the person. It is harder to attack a group of people than it is to attack one. It is also important to potentially reach out to, if you don't feel comfortable, you can still reach out to authorities in some way and do something about it, but don't do nothing. And don't assume that, it's people who know each other. Don't assume anything. Really act as if, the person's in danger and that you need to support them in that process.
All right. As always, thank you for your insight, Dr. Lisa. You guys make sure you follow her on Instagram at Dr. Orbe-Austin, and then we'll see you here again next week. Thanks.
You're welcome.